This never happens. Never. So I thought, let's enjoy this moment together. Just felt like it, you guys. I just felt like it. I'll probably take a couple of bites and throw the rest away. Not. Oh my god. Mmm. 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 It's good. Not too sweet. Mmm. Mmm. Stay away from the donut. The inside is sweet. I have to scoop it out. How are y'all doing? I'm okay. I'm doing well. I didn't sleep very well last night, so I'm not looking very fresh faced, but that's okay. As a heads up, I might not be around next weekend, so don't be alarmed if I like to keep my weekend schedule. It's like that one promise that I've made to myself. Why am I not going to be around? Remember that meditation course I was telling you guys about that I gave up to go and see Jamie Wynn instead? Well, I haven't signed up for another course, but I thought, well, I do want to detox from YouTube. It's really the only space that I use now. So I thought, well, let me do 10 days without YouTube. Let's see how it goes. So I'm going to try. I don't know if I'm going to be successful or not, but I'm going to do my very best. And there's always a chance that I might enjoy it so much, you guys, that I might decide to take a break from the channel for a while. I don't know. I can be capricious sometimes. When I'm uncertain about things, I can go back and forth until eventually I just make a decision. But I just thought, I don't know, I've had a feeling that maybe it would be a good thing to try for a while. I don't know that it makes me happy being on YouTube. Not this space, this is like my happy space, but just watching content. I just don't think we need it at some point. At some point we just have to live. And I went to this Jamie Wynn event this week, oh my gosh, it feels like such a long time ago. It was this week. And I stood there watching this man singing. And there's this joy when I see people doing what they love. It's a complete and utter joy for them, and that I get to experience the feeling that they have or are having as they're doing the thing that they love. And at the same time, there's a longing inside me to be able to discover what that thing is for me. So I had this moment where I just thought, he's really living, he's living, and I need to live as well. So that's where we're at. What else? I'll tell you what happened on the Jamie one night in a second. But before that, I couldn't believe that they were even considering, or there was even word that they were considering the Nobel Peace Prize for the orange guy. Can you imagine the audacity? Can you imagine if you and I had that level of audacity, what we could achieve in life? I mean, imagine thinking that you are deserving of a peace prize when you've caused so much ruckus in the world, so much blood on your hands. Imagine Imagine that level of audacity. I really admire people with that level of audacity. In his case, I think admiration is a very strong word. I don't think we can use the word admiration in his case, but I do quite enjoy audacious people in a general sense because they really suck everything out of life. Opportunists, no, but people who have audacity, is that even the right word? People who have such self-belief, such deluded self-belief, which I think is amazing. I think we should all have that level of delusion. So anyway, I was I was very happy to see that that prize did not go to him. I don't know anything about this lady, which is wild, isn't it? That there are people doing all these things in the world and we just don't know about them. We don't hear about them. Or I am just not connected in terms of what's going on in the world, not connected enough. So yes, I'd like to find out a little bit about this lady. But the Jamie Woon night, should I tell you about it? So I've become so used to going to bed at a certain time that on my way there, I was just like, oh, I could be home and in bed. But obviously, it's just a laziness. There's just a laziness to it. I really want to be there. I really want to see him. I've waited almost 10 years to see him again. So of course I'm feeling, yeah, I'm feeling a level of excitement. And when I turned up, there was a security guard there with I think he was Ghanaian British, but he had his Ghanaian accent. You might mock me for not being able to do accents, but I do know my accents, you guys. I mean, I know the difference between a Ghanaian and Nigerian accent, say. He had a Ghanaian accent, very soft, very gentle. And he was kind of ushering me around in the queue. Security guards are always really lovely to me. I don't know why. Maybe they just feel sorry for me because I always go to these things on my own. But they're always really, really lovely to me. He was such a nice man. He was so kind to me. And he said, okay, you've got your little, I don't know, QR code or whatever ready. And I said, oh, I couldn't get on the app. So I've been put on a list because I had to contact the company to tell them that I couldn't get on the app. So I said I couldn't get on the app, so they put me on a list. And there's only about maybe 40 people in this queue. This is a really intimate space, you guys. It's a record store, so capacity is small. So at this stage, there were only about 40 people in this queue, I would say. Maybe slightly more. So I say this to him, and he oh, this happened a little bit later. Okay, so he just accepted it. He accepted that I didn't have the app and I needed to do something a little bit more fiddly than all the other people. So I'm happily just standing in my queue watching everyone else. And it was amazing, you guys, because there were so many other people there by themselves. Whenever I used to go to events, I'd stick out like a sore thumb because there weren't that many people who did stuff by themselves. But I was really pleasantly surprised at how many people were there by themselves, both men and women. It was really cool. But this is what I mean. That Jamie Woon crowd are slightly older, they're confident, and yeah, they're confident people, I think. They're intelligent people, so that kind of thing doesn't really bother them. So just enjoying watching the crowd. And then this really sweet Kenyan man, I don't know why he did this, but he sort of stepped back from the queue a little bit and he focused on these three people that were together, one girl and two boys. These three looked like the type of people that wouldn't even swat a fly. They looked so wholesome and decent. And he went into this long speech focusing on them about how the inside of the record store is non-smoking and we're a family who love each other and there's going to be no trouble inside and we're all going to respect and love each other. And he's just focusing on these three. And they took it in their stride. And one of the guys who was Caucasian, he made a joke about it to his friends. But this man, everyone was just so baffled by why he had picked on these three, but also how random his speech was. Because, well, look at us. We all look really like regular, wholesome people, I think. None of us look even remotely like we're going to cause any kind of trouble. So I had a little giggle to myself, and the queue's getting shorter as we all start to enter. And so I reach near the queue, but I'm still behind some people. And he says to me again, okay, you've got your QR thingy app ready. And I said to him again, oh, I couldn't access the app, so they put me on a list. So he shouts, he doesn't shout, but he says in a very loud voice to the front of the queue, she's on a guest list. And I'm just like, I'm kind of mortified because now everyone's just staring at me because it's just so uncool. You know, that whole guest list thing, it's really uncool. So I'm thinking inside, sir, I didn't say I was on a guest list. But then I was just like, let me enjoy this moment. So I'm just nodding away like, on a guest list, yes I am. So I get to the front of the queue and everyone's just sort of still staring at me like, who is she? Who is she? And then I get to the front and this lovely Ghanaian man says to me, okay, go to that girl over there. She's just over there and tell her that you're on the guest list. And I'm confused because there's a gentleman standing right next to the Ghanaian man who's got the laptop or pad or whatever that scans people through. So surely he's the guy that I should be speaking to. And he just ushers me over to that woman again. And I say, okay, I just nod and just, I'm not going to cause any grief because I'm on the guest list, you guys. And he's just been so lovely to me. So I don't really question it. I just go up to the girl and I say, gentleman over there said to me that I have to come to you because blah, blah, blah. And she said, no, you have to go to that guy there, the one who I thought I was supposed to go to. And I said to her, but that guy said to me that I have to come to you. And she's like, no, you have to go to him. And I said, are you sure? Because he really insisted that I come and see you. And she said, yeah, let me come with you. So she comes with me to the guy that I was supposed to go and see. And he says, what's your name? And so I tell him before I even tell him my name, I say to him, I've just been sent off on a wild goose chase. I don't know why he found that funny, but he did. I mean, it wasn't a wild goose chase, guys. I literally just walked 5 yards or 5 meters to this lady and back. But he seemed to find that really funny. And then he asks me my name. He didn't even ask me for ID. I'd been told specifically, take ID with you. And, you know, they make it sound so serious. He just said, what's your name? And I told him my name. And my name's 2 syllables. It's 2 syllables. So he types in the first 2 syllables of my name. And my name comes up. And then he gives me a CD. They were giving the free Jamie Woon CD or vinyl. And I said, I'm okay, thank you. And he looks a bit surprised, but he didn't question it. He said, okay. And I just walked through. And you know why I didn't accept the CD, don't you? Because I spent all of last year getting rid of all my music. So I walked through, and my mistake, if you can see that recording that I put up of Jamie, my mistake was that I used the bathroom. Had I not used the bathroom, I would have been very, very close to the front, probably in second row. But I used the bathroom, which took up a little bit of time. And so by the time I got there, I was a little bit far up. And there was this one girl, lady, slightly older, who was positioned next to me and I spent an hour just talking to her. And you might think, well, what a waste. You're out and about, you should be talking to the boys. You'd think that. I agree with you, but none of them had a vibe, you guys, because I'm looking at the people. I like people watching. And there's just no vibe. What's going on with people? No vibe. There's just no vibe. The Ghanaian man had more of a vibe. He had a lot of vibe about him. I, whilst I'm talking about him, I always find it funny how people don't make the most of situations like that. Like, I would have made a joke or something if he'd been looking at me and targeting me, but they just let that moment slide. Anyway, I stood next to this girl for about an hour speaking to her about music, and she's been to so many interesting events because she's older. She'd seen Prince in America, she'd seen Lenny Kravitz. He's not someone I listen to, but when she was talking about Prince, I said, did he sing? Do you know what my favorite Prince track is? I have two, but there's one in particular that's like my standout Prince track. I'd play it for you, but you know how Prince was about having his music played. I'd have to probably cut it out in the end, so there's no point really. If I Was Your Girlfriend, what a tune. So we spoke about Prince for a while and how he just had the it factor. And I think people don't realize how much of an it factor, well, I think men don't realize how much of an it factor Prince had. Maybe you do, I'm not sure, but you know, he was a petite gentleman, but he had that thing about him that it's just very attractive. So she was talking about him and Lenny Kravitz, and we were sharing music stories. She asked me if I'd seen Jamie before. I said I did, and I told her the story about Paris. And yeah, so I spent an hour talking to her, and I really enjoyed speaking to her, but at the same time I thought it would have been good for me to speak to some other people as well. And then he came on and he was amazing. Just him and his guitar. And us as a crowd, I'll admit we were such a dead crowd. I think because we were so shocked to see him. It's been a long time. People have been waiting a long time to see him. He basically disappeared for about 10 years. And it felt like such a loss to music. So when he came back, I think everyone was just like, wow, this is insane. So anyway, we were just spellbound. We were mesmerized. We were just standing there looking at him. And he felt it because he said, you're all so quiet. You're just looking at me. He said, you're kind of scaring me. And, you know, I wanted to shout, we missed you, Jamie. But even I didn't. That's how much I've become a bit of an introvert, whereas in the past I would have said something like that. I think one girl at the beginning, she said, welcome back. But no one actually said, you know, we love you, Jamie, or we've missed you, Jamie. I think because he's a very private person. He's a very private artist. There's really very little information about him. And so people don't really want to overstep the boundaries. That's the case with me anyway. And also, I had told you guys it's going to be an event where no one's going to use their phone. Again, I don't know why I instinctively knew that. I think again because he's a proper artist, and I think standing there with a phone recording him when he's there would just feel so ludicrous to him and his audience as well, because it's such a special moment that you want to capture it in reality rather than through a phone. So I did take that moment, but I felt a little bit like it was a bit sacrilegious and I cut it short. But was it worth me giving up the meditation course for it? Of course it was. Of course it was. I can do this meditation course anytime, but being able to see Jamie win anytime is unlikely. I think he'll do a European tour soon. What would be really amazing is if I can see him at another venue in Europe. The reason being is that he sort of released his new album, the full set, a couple of days before this event. So I had a couple of days to just accustom myself to the tracks. And in the end, he didn't play, he played maybe 3, I think, of the new album, maybe 4, but most of it was old stuff. So I thought, okay, he's probably on the 10th at the chapel that I didn't book. He was probably going to go into more depth or detail with his new album. Our event was really short, like an hour thing, and then he did a signing afterwards. I don't ever speak to artists. I just don't do it because I don't want to. I feel like it's something they have to do rather than something they want to do. Don't want to jinx myself, but I think I've locked. I don't get this phone and how sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I feel like with a lot of artists, especially private ones, they do it as part of their job, the signing the records after or speaking to you. Jameson spends an enormous amount of time speaking to his fans after an event. It's really amazing, actually, how much time he spends with his fans. But even with Jameson, I've just sort of watched from afar. I've never gone and said hi. I don't know why. I just think I don't want to not like an artist in person. So the mystery around them is fine with me. So the girl who was standing next to me, the lady, she was older. She said, "Are you gonna?" I said, "No, I'm just gonna go now." And I explained why. I think she was really surprised because I'd said to her I'd been waiting for a long time to see him. And I'd said to her, you know, this is the first. She asked me who was the last person you saw. And I didn't say to her, I'm a freaking recluse. I just said, I actually don't go out to events anymore. So this is the first artist that I'm seeing this year. And then to try and make myself not sound like a loner, I said, but you know, there's been this drum and bass thing so I explained that to her, which she found really weird, I think. But she told me about her sister who was a DJ. So it was nice to just talk about music the whole night. It was nice. She was a creative. It was nice to be around. I consider these people sort of normal. They're not, yeah, these are the normal type of people. So it's a really nice night. And being in East London, it was absolutely nothing. I don't know why I made such a big deal about it. I'll tell you one really interesting thing. This record store, Rough Trade East, it's located inside something brewery. I always forget. It's a really famous place in Aldgate East. Aldgate East is this one long street, and you have all these Indian, Bengali, Asian type restaurants. And then down that street, they've got this brewery, Aldgate East. And you get so many young people and creatives just hanging out there. I can't even remember the name. Rough Trade East. And when I was walking in, and also when I was walking out of this event, Old Truman Brewery. Old Truman Brewery has all these like a couple of little clubs, I think, and record stores, and it's just a very kind of funky and hipstery type place. East London and West London are just so different. West London, it feels a little bit more residential. The people are more professional types, I think. But East London is where all the artists and creatives hang out. So when I was going in and when I was walking out, you had all these hipsters, very cool young people, all ethnicities. You would have thought it was the United Colours of Benetton. It was incredible. and they're all playing chess, like one table after another of these youngsters playing chess. Such a square thing to do. And I'm not hating on chess in any way, shape, or form. My mum was the #1 chess champion in Iran. So how could I hate on this lovely sport? I love chess, but it is something that I think, you know, this generation coming up, or Gen Z, they're not Gen Alpha, Gen Z are so different to the other generations. I find them just a joy to be around and to observe. And actually, I had to deal with a couple of Gen Z people last week, and it's so, you guys, it's so easy to deal with them. They're just so relaxed, so chill. They send emails in a different way. They're not stuffy. They don't take themselves seriously. They're friendly. They've got good vibes. They're not jaded. They're not fixed in personality and behavior. I just love everything about Gen Z, and I wish that I could deal with just Gen Z. I find millennials not particularly enjoyable to deal with, and Gen Xers, unless they're at the older end of Gen Xers, I don't really particularly find them particularly charismatic to deal with either. But the older ones, they're always very, very nice to me. So yeah, that was my evening at Rough Trade East, and it made me think I would love to go out to more events. It would be so much fun to just, I don't need to speak to people. Like that hour that I was speaking to this girl, I enjoyed it, but I could have happily spoken to no one in that hour and just watched people. That would have been so much fun as well.